Imagine walking into the house you grew up in. The familiar smell of old wood and your mother's favorite vanilla candle hits you the second you open the front door. Everything looks exactly the same as it did 10 years ago. The framed photographs are perfectly straight on the wall, the television is murmuring in the background, and your parent is sitting in their usual chair, offering you that same warm, familiar smile. On the surface, absolutely nothing is wrong. But as you sit down across from them, a tiny, icy sliver of dread begins to form in the very bottom of your stomach. You notice a small stack of unopened mail shoved under the edge of the rug. You notice that the expiration date on the milk in the fridge is 3 weeks old. You notice that they just asked you the exact same question they asked you 20 minutes ago, but they asked it with such terrifying confidence that you almost second-guessed your own memory. We live in a society that is absolutely terrified of aging. We mask it with expensive face creams, we hide it behind hair dye, and we desperately, frantically pretend that the people we love the most are going to remain vibrant, sharp, and independent forever. But the agonizing, undeniable truth is that the human brain and the human body begin a highly orchestrated, complex process of winding down long before a massive medical crisis actually hits. Decline after the age of 60 does not usually announce itself with a loud, dramatic siren. It does not start with a massive stroke or a sudden, catastrophic fall. It starts with a whisper. It starts with incredibly subtle, easily rationalized behavioral changes that families completely brush off as just getting a little older or just being stubborn. But these tiny shifts are not quirks. They are the blaring, flashing warning signs of serious cognitive or physical decline. And because no one ever talks about them, because we are all too scared to look the monster of mortality directly in the eye, we miss the critical window to intervene, protect, and support our loved ones until a tragic accident forces our hand. Today, we are going to violently pull back the heavy velvet curtain on the reality of aging. I am going to walk you through the 12 undeniable, deeply psychological, and physical behaviors that signal serious decline after the age of 60. I am sharing this not to cause you panic, but to arm you with the ultimate supreme gift of clarity. Because when you know exactly what the shadows look like, you stop being afraid of the dark. You stop arguing with your aging parents out of frustration, and you start loving them with profound, proactive empathy. But before we dive into this heavy, absolutely essential roadmap, I need to know who is walking this terrifying, beautiful path of caregiving with me today. Please, take just one fraction of a second right now, scroll down to the comments, and tell me where in the world you are watching from. More importantly, tell me the first name of the aging parent, spouse, or friend you are fiercely worried about today. Let us build a massive global sanctuary of absolute support and unbreakable empathy, right here, right now. On the furniture surfing phenomenon, the secret balance panic. The very first, incredibly subtle warning sign is a physical adaptation that seniors use to completely mask their failing balance. Medical professionals call it cruising, but in the home, it looks like furniture surfing. You will notice that your father no longer walks directly through the center of a room. Instead, he takes a highly specific, calculated path. He will walk from the kitchen counter, slide his hand along the drywall, grab the back of the dining room chair, touch the edge of the bookcase, and finally land in his recliner. His hand is constantly, lightly tethered to a solid object. If you ask him, "Dad, are you having trouble walking? Do you need a cane?" Ear and force, ears for. He will become fiercely defensive. He will say, "Of course not. I was just pausing to look out the window," or "I just like to feel the wood of this old chair." No, it's not near keyter the so. He is lying to you, but he is also lying to himself. The vestibular system in the inner ear, which controls our spatial awareness and balance, degrades significantly as we age. The brain begins to receive delayed signals from the feet about where the floor actually is. To compensate for this terrifying, dizzying sensation of floating, the brain demands a secondary point of physical contact with the world. They surf the furniture because they are absolutely terrified of falling, but they are even more terrified of losing their pride by asking for a walker. If you see this happening, do not confront them aggressively. Gently rearrange the furniture to ensure there are no wide, dangerous gaps, and remove absolutely every single throw rug in the house. If you have noticed your loved one secretly using the walls or chairs to navigate the room, type the word balance in the comments right now. Acknowledge this silent, terrifying struggle. 2. The erasure of the executive chef and brainy the diet of convenience. Inobisem answer and sansansu. For your entire life, your mother might have been a culinary mastermind. She could juggle 4 pots on the stove, time a massive Thanksgiving turkey perfectly, and bake a pie entirely from memory. But suddenly, in her late 60s or 70s, the massive family dinners completely stop. In fact, all real cooking stops. You look in her trash can and see nothing but frozen dinner boxes, empty sleeves of saltine crackers, and instant oatmeal packets. When you ask her why she isn't cooking her famous lasagna anymore, she will use a highly logical, completely bulletproof rationalization. Oh, it's just too much trouble to cook for one person. Or, I just don't have the appetite for heavy food anymore. Nina idea siar dilananem siars. While appetite does decrease with age, the sudden abandonment of cooking is usually a glaring red flag for a decline in executive function. Cooking a complex meal requires incredibly high-level cognitive processing. You have to plan a menu, sequence the steps, manage multiple timelines, and react to changing conditions, like a boiling pot. As the frontal lobe of the brain begins to slow down or experience early-stage dementia, this multitasking becomes overwhelmingly, paralyzingly difficult. The brain simply short-circuits. So, to avoid the panic and the realization that they are losing their cognitive grip, they retreat to the absolute simplest, most processed, zero-step foods available. The tea and toast diet is not a preference. It is a profound cognitive retreat. If you have watched an amazing cook suddenly resort to a diet of crackers and frozen meals, type the word kitchen in the comments. Let us validate the heartbreak of losing the family chef. 3. The aggressive defensiveness. Over minor mistakes, the fear response. We all forget where we put our car keys. We all occasionally forget the name of a movie we watched last week. When a healthy 30-year-old does this, they laugh it off, say, "Wow, my brain is fried today," and move on. But when a person over 60 who is experiencing genuine cognitive decline forgets a name or misses a familiar turn while driving, their reaction is violently different. If you gently point it out, "Hey mom, the doctor's office is actually the next left," she will not say, "Oh, my mistake." She will erupt into a disproportionate, furious, aggressive rage. She will scream, "I know exactly where I am going. You are distracting me. They must have moved the sign." This intense anger is incredibly hurtful to adult children, but you must look beneath the surface of the rage. The anger is nothing but a mask for absolute sheer terror. Deep down, your parents' subconscious mind knows that the filing cabinets in their brain are starting to lock shut. They are terrified that they are losing their mind, and when you point out a mistake, you are sure, for a mistake, you are holding up a mirror to their greatest nightmare. Their ego cannot handle the vulnerability of admitting cognitive failure, so the brain's defense mechanism instantly defaults to anger and blame. When your parent explodes over a forgotten word or a missed exit, whatever you do, do not argue back. Do not try to prove them wrong with facts or logic. Take a deep breath, de-escalate the situation, and change the subject. You cannot win an argument with a failing brain. 4. The shrinking geographic radius, the safe zone trap. Think about your aging parents' car. 5 years ago, they would happily drive 2 hours on the interstate to visit a friend or go to a new shopping mall. But over time, their world begins to inexplicably shrink. First, they announce they are no longer driving at night because of the glare of the headlights. That is a perfectly normal, acceptable physical adaptation. But then they stop taking the highway, claiming the drivers are too crazy nowadays. Then they stop driving to the neighboring town. Eventually, their entire life, their entire geographic universe, shrinks down to a strict 2-mile radius around their house, the local grocery store, the pharmacy, and the church. If you ask them to drive outside of this invisible fence, they will suddenly develop a migraine or find an excuse not to go. This shrinking radius is a massive, blaring siren of cognitive and sensory decline. Navigating a vehicle at 50 miles per hour requires massive amounts of rapid-fire data processing. You must judge distance, anticipate the erratic movements of other cars, read signs, and filter out irrelevant background noise. As the brain slows down, this flood of data becomes deeply overwhelming. By restricting their driving to roads they have driven 10,000 times, they are relying entirely on deeply ingrained muscle memory rather than active, real-time cognitive processing. They are staying inside the safe zone because stepping outside of it forces them to confront the terrifying reality that they can no longer process the world at full speed. If this information is already shifting your entire perspective, and if it is explaining the confusing, frustrating behaviors you are seeing in your own family, please take a fraction of a second right now to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We post deep, unapologetic, emotionally raw videos exactly like this to help families navigate the absolute hardest transitions of human life with dignity, supreme knowledge, and fearless love. Your subscription helps the YouTube algorithm push this exact video to a terrified son or daughter who is currently sitting in a living room, completely confused as to why their father is suddenly so angry all the time. You can help us bring them absolute peace and understanding today. Please hit subscribe and join this sacred community. 5. The good enough hygiene rationalization, the silent neglect. This is the sign that is the most difficult for families to talk about because it involves personal dignity and a deep sense of shame. You will lean in to hug your incredibly proud, meticulously groomed mother, and you will notice the faint, unmistakable odor of unwashed hair or stale clothing. You will notice that she is wearing the exact same sweater she was wearing 4 days ago. When you gently try to broach the subject, "Mom, do you want me to help you run a bath?" She will fiercely rationalize the neglect. She will say, "Oh, I didn't do any heavy sweating today. I don't need a shower." Or, "Washing my hair every day strips the natural oils. I read that in a magazine." She is not becoming lazy. She is not giving up on herself. Bathing is one of the most physically and cognitively dangerous activities an elderly person can undertake. Stepping over the high wall of a slippery porcelain tub requires immense balance and leg strength. The transition from warm water to cold air causes a rapid drop in blood pressure, leading to dizziness. Furthermore, the sequencing required to bathe, undress, adjust the water temperature, wash the body, rinse, dry off, apply lotion, dress again, is a massive cognitive marathon for a declining brain. The subconscious mind evaluates the extreme physical risk of slipping and the cognitive exhaustion of the process, and determines that it is simply safer to stay dirty. They mask this fear with the good enough rationalization. If you notice a decline in hygiene, do not shame them. Install grab bars, buy a shower chair, and make the bathroom the safest, most secure room in the entire house. 6. The paranoia of theft, the hiding game. This behavior completely shatters the hearts of caregivers. You will be visiting your father, and suddenly he will accuse his devoted home health aide, or even worse, he will accuse you of stealing his belongings. He will claim that someone broke into the house and stole a pair of reading glasses, $20 from his wallet, or a specific television remote. You will spend 3 hours tearing the house apart, only to find the stolen reading glasses wrapped in a napkin, shoved inside an empty coffee can in the very back of the pantry. When the brain begins to suffer from microvascular changes, Alzheimer's, or other forms of dementia, the short-term memory is the absolute first thing to be destroyed. Your father genuinely, truly has no memory of wrapping his glasses in a napkin and hiding them in the coffee can. But his brain still demands a logical explanation for why the glasses are not on the table where he thought they were. Because his ego cannot accept the terrifying reality that his own mind is betraying him, the brain invents a secondary, more acceptable narrative. Someone must have taken them. The paranoia is a desperately sad coping mechanism. It is easier to believe the world is full of thieves than it is to believe that your own brain is slowly dying. When they accuse you of stealing, you must swallow your pride. Do not take it personally. Say, "Dad, that is terrible that someone took them. Let me help you look." You must join their reality because you cannot drag them back into yours. Have you ever been accused of moving or taking something by an aging parent who was actually just forgetting? Type the word memory in the comments below. Let us validate the immense pain of being accused by someone you love. 7. The social retreat and the too loud excuse, sensory overload. Remember when your parents were the absolute life of the party? They loved going to crowded restaurants, they loved attending the massive church potlucks, and they thrived in a living room filled with laughing grandchildren. But slowly, they begin to decline every single invitation. They stop going to the diner with their friends. If you invite them to a family dinner, they will leave after 45 minutes, claiming, "It's just too loud in here," or "My ears are ringing, I need to go home." Families often mistake this for depression or antisocial behavior. They think their parent is just becoming a bitter recluse. The heartbreaking truth is that they are suffering from profound sensory processing decline. In a crowded room, a healthy brain acts like a highly advanced soundboard. It automatically turns down the background noise of clinking silverware and overlapping conversations, and turns up the volume on the person sitting directly in front of you. As the brain ages and cognitive decline sets in, this filtering system completely breaks down. Suddenly, every single sound, the air conditioner, the dog barking outside, the 3 different conversations happening at the table, enters the brain at the exact same, deafening volume. It is absolute neurological chaos. It is exhausting, confusing, and deeply panic-inducing. They retreat to the profound silence of their empty house because it is the only place where their brain does not feel like it is under constant, terrifying attack. 8. The unopened mail and the financial chaos, executive paralysis. You walk into your parents' house and notice a massive, towering stack of mail sitting on the dining room table. When you look closer, you see final notice utility bills, uncashed birthday checks from 3 months ago, and confusing letters from Medicare. Your father, a man who meticulously balanced his checkbook to the exact penny every single Friday night for 40 years, suddenly has no idea how much money is in his account. He might even be writing checks to blatant scam charities that send him junk mail. Managing finances requires the highest pinnacle of executive function. It requires reading comprehension, mathematical calculation, consequence prediction, and timely action. When a senior citizen begins to decline, the sheer sight of a medical bill with its confusing codes and intimidating language induces absolute paralysis. They look at the envelope, feel a massive wave of anxiety wash over them, and they put it in a pile, telling themselves, "I will deal with that tomorrow." But tomorrow never comes, because the brain simply cannot process the steps required to solve the problem. The stack of mail grows into a monument of their hidden cognitive failure. If you see this stack of mail, you must intervene immediately. But you must do it with supreme grace. Do not treat them like a child. Say, "Dad, the mail system is getting so confusing lately. Let's sit down with some coffee and tackle this paperwork together." 9. The fake smile apathy, the loss of empathy. This is perhaps the most emotionally devastating sign for the adult children to witness. You go to your mother in tears, telling her that you just lost your job, or that you are going through a terrible, painful divorce. You are looking for that fierce, protective, loving mother who used to drop everything to comfort you. But instead, she looks at you with a blank, slightly detached expression, offers a generic fake smile, and says, "Oh well, everything happens for a reason. Have you seen the new neighbor's car?" She completely ignores your pain and changes the subject to something totally trivial. You feel an agonizing knife in your heart. You think she no longer cares about you. But you are completely misinterpreting the biology of the aging brain. The areas of the brain responsible for deep empathy, emotional processing, and carrying the psychological weight of others, specifically the frontal and temporal lobes, degrade significantly. The emotional bandwidth required to process a divorce or a job loss is massive. Her brain simply does not have the energetic currency to process your heavy grief. To protect herself from an emotional short circuit, the brain literally builds a velvet wall of apathy. She loves you just as much as the day you were born, but her biological machinery can no longer process complex emotional data. You must stop going to an empty well expecting water. You must protect your own heart, realize her brain is changing, and forgive her for the comfort she can no longer provide. If you have felt this quiet, heartbreaking emotional detachment from an aging parent, type the word "wall" in the comments below. Let us validate the profound pain of that separation. 10. The repetitive story loop, the island of competence. You sit down with your grandfather, and within 10 minutes, he begins telling you the exact same story about his time in the military in 1968, or the story of how he bought his first house. You nod politely. But 20 minutes later, he starts the exact same story over again, completely unaware that he just told it to you. Many people roll their eyes, interrupt, and say, "Grandpa, you literally just told me this." Do not interrupt them. You must understand why they are looping. The short-term memory, what they had for breakfast, what day of the week it is, who is the current president, is heavily damaged and full of terrifying dark holes. But the long-term memory, the deep foundational stories of their youth, are carved into their brain like absolute granite. When a senior citizen feels confused or anxious about the present moment, they instinctively retreat to an island of competence. They tell the story from 1968 because in that story, they were strong, they were young, they knew exactly what was happening, and they were the hero. They are repeating the story because the act of telling it anchors them, calms their anxiety, and reminds them that they are a person of value. When they tell the story for the 5th time, you must listen with the exact same fascination as the first time. You are not just listening to words, you are providing them with a psychological life raft. 11. The secret medication chaos, the pillbox deception. Medical mismanagement is the #1 reason seniors end up in the emergency room. You might buy your parent a beautiful, highly organized pillbox with the days of the week clearly printed on it. You assume everything is fine, but if you look closely, you will see absolute chaos. You will find pills dropped and left on the bathroom floor. You will open the Wednesday compartment on a Friday and see it is still full. Or worse, you will notice that they are taking double doses of blood pressure medication because they forgot they already took it. If you confront them, they will lie with absolute terrifying conviction. "I took my pills this morning, I know I did." They are not purposefully trying to hurt themselves. Medication management requires a perfect storm of short-term memory, fine motor skills, opening tiny bottles, and visual acuity, reading microscopic labels. It's in this. When one of these fails, the entire system collapses. They lie about taking them because admitting they cannot manage their own health is the absolute final step before admitting they need to be put in an assisted living facility, which is their ultimate nightmare. You cannot trust their verbal confirmation. You must physically verify the pill counts or transition to an automated, alarm-based dispenser. 12th, the sundowning shadow, the twilight confusion. The final sign is the most eerie and unsettling. Throughout the entire morning and early afternoon, your parent might be perfectly lucid, funny, and sharp. But the absolute second the sun begins to set, around 4:30 or 5 p.m., a dark, terrifying psychological switch is flipped. They suddenly become incredibly anxious. They start pacing the house. They might become paranoid, demanding to know who is outside the window, or they might pack a suitcase and demand to go home, even though they have lived in that exact house for 40 years. This is a clinical phenomenon known as sundowning, and it is a massive, undeniable early warning sign of Alzheimer's or dementia. As the natural light fades, the brain's circadian rhythm becomes completely destabilized. Furthermore, the brain is simply exhausted from the massive effort required to appear normal all day long. When the evening hits, their cognitive battery drops to zero, and the shadows in the room begin to look like threats. The brain loses its grip on time and location. If your parent experiences this terrifying twilight confusion, do not try to use logic. Do not say, "Mom, look around, you are home." Enough for sun for fur, not for sure, yeah. Logic does not exist in the twilight zone. You must close the curtains before the sun sets, turn on every bright, warm light in the house, play soft, familiar music, and redirect their anxiety with a simple, calming task like folding warm laundry. You must become the anchor in their storm. Understanding these 12 silent, easily ignored behaviors completely and radically changes the way we must view the aging process. It takes away the frustration, the bitter arguments, and the resentment, and replaces it with profound, heavy, and beautiful biological understanding. When you finally recognize the furniture surfing, the fake smile, or the geographic shrinking, you stop being an angry child and you step into your ultimate, sacred role as a fierce, loving guardian. You stop trying to force them back into the loud, busy, heavy world of their youth, and you start actively building a safe, quiet, dignified sanctuary for them in their present reality. You stop counting their mistakes, and you start making every single remaining day count. I want to thank you from the absolute deepest, most sincere bottom of my heart for staying with me through this incredibly heavy, deeply emotional, and profoundly necessary topic today. It takes an incredibly special, brave, and fiercely loving soul to look directly at the reality of cognitive decline and mortality and seek to understand it instead of hiding from it. If this video brought tears to your eyes, if it finally explained a confusing, heartbreaking behavior you have been struggling with in your own home, or if it gave you the roadmap you desperately needed to protect your parents, please do not keep this to yourself. Share this video with your siblings, your spouse, or another caregiver who is completely lost in the dark right now. Before you close this screen and step back into your busy, chaotic life, I want you to make one final, unbreakable promise to yourself and to the people who raised you. Scroll down to the comments right now and type the words, "I will be patient." Let that be your permanent digital declaration to the universe that you will look past the anger, you will see the fear underneath, and you will love them fiercely and perfectly, even when their own mind begins to betray them. Take care of your beautiful, resilient spirit. Cherish the quiet moments today. Pick up the phone and call your parents while you still can, and I will see you in the very next video.